All right, here we go on this sunny Tuesday, where we are each weekday. Yep, each weekday, right at 1 o'clock. Yes. I'm not exactly sure how some people miss that. I don't get it. Obviously, I don't get it. We're here. Yep. Now, there are some. Hi there, Robin. Yes. Good afternoon, Janet Dwyer. Yes, and there's Robin. Yes. Here I am. It is really remarkable, actually. Some people, subscribers of all people, you haven't been on. You haven't been on. I haven't seen, you haven't been on at 1. Really? Hi there, Jessica Perry. That's amazing. Well, someone that looks like me has been on at 1 o'clock. I'll tell you that much. Really? You haven't been on. There's Bill. Yes. You know, folks, I can only, most people watch this later, by the way, because the numbers go way up when we go off the air, and that's fine. If you miss the live, okay, you know, it happens. It's entirely up to you. Hi, Jessica. But don't say that we're not on, right? Don't say we're not on. I mean, only because, listen, that's silly. You can go and check. You can check the page. Yes. Thank you, Kristen. Yes. Roger says we're ready to go. Oh, God. I don't know what to make of that story. I got to admit, that's a tune out for me. I don't know what's involved with it. I don't know what would be taking so long. Boy, a lot of people are very vested in that story. Hi there, Zach. So, but again, folks, I get that people can't, you know, people have other things going on and they watch it later. And that's totally fine. But don't say we're not on. Hi there, Jane Rice. I know some people are saying, what is he talking about? We had some people on the subscriber page saying, yes, you haven't been on. I have been looking. You have not been on at 1 o'clock. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I'm here. I mean, it's a little crazy. You could certainly go to, as I said, the page. We're going to start in just 2 minutes. It's on demand. Many times, as I said, the numbers rocket. Especially now, last week we were live. We did a pretty remarkable live Friday. Someone, I haven't seen you at a murder. Well, we were live at the homicide on Broad Street last Thursday. Again, there's Lynn Miller. I get if people miss, but you know, it just goes to another level when you say that we're not on it. I get if people mean I haven't watched it. I suppose you could say that. For instance, I don't walk around saying MSNBC is not on. They're on. I'm just not watching them. Or maybe that's not the best analogy. But yes, one on demand. Exactly, Kara. Yes, you should have seen some of the people on the subscriber page. Exactly. Doesn't seem complicated to me. I haven't seen you on at 1 o'clock. Hello there from sunny Georgia. We're going to begin in just a moment. Again, I'm not sure what to make of that. I know a lot of people would say, you know, don't let it, don't get upset by it. Don't just ignore it. But it's kind of tough when you have people. But many times I take things for granted. For instance, I didn't realize a lot of people are unsure what weekdays mean. When I say we're on weekdays at 1. Well, I looked for you Saturday I see you. Right, that's a weekend. Weekdays. We have had. Yes, I was, Bill. We're going to begin, folks, at 106. Now, there are some platforms like X that are having some problems. I don't know if that's coming into play, but right now, I kid you not, we are live right now at on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. Now, we're also live right now on YouTube, on Facebook, and X. Now, each weekday at 1 o'clock, and maybe I should explain to something like Pat. It's not we're on at 1. Sometimes there may be a glitch with your app where you don't get notified, but it's not a wedding invite. It doesn't mean you can't watch if you don't get notified. For instance, the Patriots don't invite me and, hey, make sure 1 o'clock. I tune in 1 o'clock on a Sunday to watch the game. So, we're here again. I want to remind people, these are apps. They have different glitches. They don't work perfectly. And sometimes for no reason. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong, as I often find, and it can totally throw off your day. So, but we're here weekdays, maybe I should say Monday through Friday, because I do get people asking me on a Sunday. Now, are you on today at 1? No, Sunday's considered a weekend. Saturday's considered a weekend. I thought you were on every day at 1. Well, weekdays at 1. All right, I won't go on and on. Folks, this portion of the program, though, they have big changes, by the way, at the Coesit Inn, where they have now introduced coffee. So now, right now, I know there's some people. I was unaware. There were people, they wait, and they had notified by Facebook. We are live, but we're live. And listen, I deal with it all the time. There's just certain things where there are different glitches, and then you got to work through it. X has millions of people that use X worldwide, and then they were down this morning. They have different glitches. I recognize we have a lot of new people. So, and one of the things when we have new people is, and I have to explain, I'm not a DJ taking requests. Okay, you don't walk in and you don't just start asking questions. Adults sit down and you watch and you absorb like everyone else. Unless I don't know if when people sit down and they're watching the news like on channel 10 or channel 12, and when the news starts at 6, I don't know if some people just sit in front of the TV saying, is it going to rain tomorrow? Is it going to rain tomorrow? Is it going to rain? They're waiting for the weather. So normally in a civil society, you wait until it comes up to, the point of where it's going to be. But as I was mentioning about the Coesit Inn, proud sponsors, you see, of DePietro.com, folks, check them out. The Coesit Inn, they're open 7 days a week. Stop in and see them. I know so many people say, just ignore the comments. We may actually do less live programming, just do more footage. So then it'd be less live to deal with, because you constantly have to bring people up to speed. I know they can't tell time, or they just don't understand. But the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick, lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge, and now the coffee. They have coffee at Coesit. They have changed their market into where you can get coffee. It's the Coesit, 226 Coesit Avenue in West Warwick. Let me do one more, since I can't get over how freezing it is. I certainly hope it's not going to be like this all winter. But Propane Plus, folks, for all your heating and cooling, you can depend on Propane Plus. In Rhode Island, call them 401-885-4209, or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359. Propane Plus, residential or commercial, you can depend. Heat, cooling, you can depend on Propane Plus. Is it going to rain tomorrow? Is he doing the weather yet? Is it going to rain tomorrow? Is it going to rain tomorrow? We have a certain rhythm that we get into. That's actually not the story that I'm going to start with. So you can always go back and watch it later, right? Here are people, the backseat driver. Get to the story now. I'm demanding it. Doesn't work that way. I will touch on it. Just not going to touch on it out of the box. We're going to start off with the Brian Walshe case. If that is a problem, people can leave and they could watch it later. So thank you, Jessica Lynn. I appreciate that. The rudeness. Something tells me this is not someone who's actually on break from work. That would be my, what's the hurry? What do we got to get? You have to get the liquor store? Is it already time to check the mail? So yes, that is exactly right. Now, I want to start off with the Brian Walshe case, and this is the murder case out of Cohasset. I believe there's an element that the media is trying to still make this seem like, boy, we don't know what's going to happen with this one. It is true that he has pled guilty. He did plead guilty. Jury selection has started with that case. He has pled guilty to 2 of the charges. But he didn't plead guilty to the murder charge. And what I think is significant about this, because I'm seeing some of the headlines on it, and I'm seeing, I did catch some coverage, and some legal pundit was trying to say, well, this is a good move by Brian Walshe. And listen, that guy, I'm seeing Bob Ward of Boston 25, first juror chosen for Brian Walshe murder trial. She's being told not to do any investigating, avoid news coverage. Trial will last up to 4 weeks. Listen, this guy, despite the 2 guilty pleas, this is the guy that killed his wife in Cohasset, his wife, Anna Walshe. Now, I also want to clarify with some people, there is a court, and some people just don't know when to go away. There's a court, and there's the court where he is presumed not guilty, court, but that doesn't mean in the court of public opinion it can't be discussed and it can't be talked about. Now, for whatever, well, actually, I know the reason. It's not for whatever reason. There are some people that want Brian Walshe, and there's no evidence to point to anything else. I don't buy this whole thing of, well, now it, makes it hard. Listen, he said she left for Logan. There was never a ride share at the house. He was the last one to see her alive. They had a New Year's Eve guest for dinner. The guest left, and then Brian Walshe killed his wife, Anna Walshe. He was supposed to be going to federal prison. He's a bizarre guy, and he has a bizarre relationship with the mother. So now I do plan on attending the trial. It starts December 1st. But the mother was blowing him a kiss yesterday. Do you understand? He is accused of killing the wife, dismembering the body, and then putting her in different dumpsters. If you were a parent and you were going to support your child, I don't know if only child, it's one thing to just go because you feel as a parent you have to. It's another thing you're blowing a kiss to the absolute maniac that did that to her. So this business, oh boy, this makes it, no, it doesn't make it harder. It doesn't. He did Google searches. They have him at the Home Depot. He was buying cleaning supplies. There's testimony of, he pled guilty to disposing of a body and interfering with the police investigation. But this notion, there are some people that just have it out so much for the police that they act like, oh, well, Brian, now he's going to get off. He's not getting off. He did that. Yes. What happened innocent until proven guilty? He's innocent in court until proven guilty. But some people, be reasonable. I don't care that Proctor was the lead detective on it. That guy Brian Walshe should not be allowed to go free because State Trooper Michael Proctor was one of the detectives on the case. It's ludicrous. Now, all right, he had a little bit of a head start. But just between the Google searches, the DNA, what they found in the house. So what is he going to say? She took her own life and then he panicked and dismantled. I hate to even think about it. It's so gruesome. Dismembered the body and then got rid of it. But he isn't the one that killed her. Well, the three boys didn't kill her. Unless they're going to try to blame the New Year's Eve dinner guest that they had. It just reaches a point that I think it's just foolish. So the mother's very strange. There is something, I believe his plan was when Anna Walshe was in D.C., he was essentially in the Cohasset house and with the mother. Sometimes you get these weird cases. The Kimeses. I lived in New York City when Kenneth Kimes and Santi Kimes. I later learned that was turned into a big, I think it was on Netflix, but it definitely some movie specials. This mother and son, Kimes, and they murdered poor Irene Silverman. She was renting a room to them. They were real grifters. They were odd. And they killed her and tried to forge that she had signed the property over to them. And then I believe they got rid of the body in the Meadowlands. I remember living in New York following that case. But with Brian Walshe, so in his mind, he just got her, and then the mother was going to act as nanny to his three boys. But I want to come back to the mother sitting, blowing him a kiss in court yesterday. I'm actually anxious to go to court because I'd like to follow her and talk to her and see if we can get her to reenact it outside of court. But that's just like another level. Would an autopsy determine? Well, they don't have the body. They don't have the body with Anna Walshe. He did successfully. He went to a couple dumpsters and then he was on home confinement. He was allowed to go to her condo, the mother's condo on the North Shore, and that's where they also found some things. But so there is no autopsy because he did get rid of the body. And the element of, nobody, some people, no body, no crime. They didn't fully find her. Sometimes that can, with some people, if you could plant the idea that they could still be alive somewhere, they ran off. There's no evidence in any way. I don't think they're going to be successful with that. But that is a big change that he's pleading guilty to disposing of the body and interference with a police investigation. But in many of these crimes, they're pretty gruesome to even think about. To me, there's something wrong with someone that could do something like that to anyone, let alone the mother of his children in his own home while his three sons slept upstairs. I've told the story before. I had a chance many years ago to interview Kevin Weeks. He was one of the henchmen for Whitey Bulger, and he wrote a book, and I'm on the air in Boston, and he wrote a book, and when I read his book, I think I had him on a Monday. He was on 60 Minutes that Sunday night. He was going to be my guest on Monday morning. And his literary agent got me the book, and I read it over the weekend. One of the things that I just found so gruesome was that this was back, I believe it was in the 80s, and you didn't have DNA, wasn't such a tool for law enforcement. So what they used to do was they would, and again, I know it sounds gruesome, but this is an adult program. They would remove someone's teeth because many times that's how you identify someone, through their dental records. During the station nightclub fire, now that happened on a Thursday night into Friday. I remember that Saturday on the radio, and Governor Kachiri came on the air with me and said, if you're a dentist, we need you to check your voicemail because they were leaving messages to be able to identify many of the bodies with the Dedarian Great White fire in West Warwick. They were trying to do that with their dental records. And so law enforcement was leaving messages or family messages. They needed dental records of people. But with Kevin Weeks, one of the things that just seemed so odd, though, so they would make him, Whitey Bulger and Flemmy would make him, after sometimes they'd kill someone, with pliers, get on top of them and remove their teeth. And I always just, it's one thing to, it would be one thing to shoot someone. It would even be something else to stab someone. But I just felt like, who could get on top of someone that they just killed? With the Whitey Bulger case, it was he strangled Deborah Davis. So, but then you have to take pliers and remove their teeth so that if anyone ever finds the body, they can't link it to her dental records. And I remember thinking, like, again, it's one thing. He was known as a fighter and maybe shot someone, stabbed someone, but just that element of removing the teeth, I just thought, what kind of human could do something like that? And then I met him. And then as soon as I still remember that he turned around, he had eyes like a wolf. Kevin Weeks. Remember, he folded. So then in 2.5 weeks, they called him Kevin 2.5 weeks. He folded. But he had eyes like someone that had, I don't know, he had seen a lot. I'll never forget those eyes. He had the eyes of a killer. I'd never seen eyes on someone like that up close. So whatever it was, it did a number on him. You know what kind of reminded me? I have interviewed people that saw combat in war. Sometimes if you interview them long enough, it goes a little too long and they go into the gaze. And you can tell they're literally in their mind going to, I had this guy describing for me when they were in Baghdad. It became hand-to-hand combat. He ended up killing this Iraqi soldier, whoever, with a rock. And he suddenly like drifted out of the conversation. He like left. He just was suddenly somewhere else. It was very uncomfortable. We had to end the interview. But my point is, so Brian Walshe, he's a real psychopath. He's definitely, I talked to one of Anna Walsh's friends after that, and they said as soon as they saw that smirk he had in court, where he was like smiling, that kind of like, I guess you got me, like you caught me. He is a really demented individual. So we do plan to cover that. There is a pattern with these individuals. Now, I know that we get a lot of new people. And there's a pattern here of people that just walk in and make demands. I said we were going to talk about it. I put that in the header, so that would make sense. But we're going to stop doing that because we get these people who just barge into a conversation. Like I said, I'm not a DJ at a dance taking requests. You wait like an adult until the topic is covered. You don't start saying, is it going to rain tomorrow? Is it going to rain tomorrow? The weather with local news is generally done at 15 past, right? Right around 6:15. They have Tony Petrarca, Mark Searles, whoever it is you watch that does the weather. But you don't at 6:02 just start saying, is it rain tomorrow? All right, let me go on. I know. I think this may be the last day we do it, just because these people become too distracting. But folks, this portion of our program, remember J. Perry Paving. Call them today, get a free estimate, 401 732 1730. 401 732 1730. Letter J, it's J. Perry Paving. And remember, if you're a veteran, no one has a better package for veterans than J. Perry Paving. 401 732 1730. Get on the list now, because then once winter hits, there's no more of it. But they have a great package for veterans. So if you're a veteran, or if you're related to a veteran, maybe your grandmother, grandfather, J. Perry Paving, 401 732 1730. All right, I will touch on this. Will be the last time. Oh, here's the person that was saying I haven't been on all week. My goodness, here we go. Oh, you haven't been on at 1 o'clock. I haven't seen you on at 1 o'clock. Oh, here we go. Now remember, if you ever miss it, we're on each weekday at 1 o'clock. If you miss it, it's posted and you can watch it on demand. So if you miss it, it doesn't mean we're not on. It just means you didn't see it at that time. So I know. We're getting closer to that. Oh, okay. There was the person that was saying, you haven't been on. We are on. You know, I'll say this about Central Falls, and this will probably be the last 1 o'clock time that we talk about it, just because it brings in a different crowd. And I know. It's easy to just say, just ignore them and so forth. But it after a while, it does start to grate on you. With Central Falls, I know. I know. And I appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, no, we're going to continue. It's just there's just the people that continue to insist, like you haven't been on. You have not been on between 1 and 2. Well, there's someone that looks like me that we have videos posted that we have been on. But let me get to it. With Central Falls, this is not going to be an easy investigation and case. I'll also say this will probably be the last time from 1 to 2 that we touch on it, just because it brings in, like I said, I mean, last week when we did it at night, that may be better, but even then, there's only so much of that you can handle. But there is video evidence that contradicts some of the arguments that people are saying. The Central Falls story, it is going to be, Janet, it is going to be a long investigation. That is not an easy case. It also, I realize that there's many people, I should say, that they believe that these cases are kind of like a TV show, that they get, an immediate response. With the Central Falls investigation, that could, yeah, exactly. Well, I just can't. I mean, they're too obnoxious. They just are. And they're also people that normally we don't deal with. So, and there's a reason why that. Maybe I should count myself lucky. Fortunate, I should say. But they're not going to rush that. And there's too much at stake. We got some hint about it with some of the individuals that are involved in that. But there's, when you're talking about a homicide investigation, and by the way, I recognize a lot of people, that's not what they want to hear. Because I get from them. They're like, I need to know right now who's being charged. It's the ultimate law, want or need. You don't need to know. You want to know. With a homicide investigation, just remember, there's no statute of limitations. So there's no reason to rush through an investigation like that. I believe that's going to go on for quite some time. They need to really document fact from fiction, document a lot of the injuries. Poor Erica Bader in Central Falls. She had a lot of injuries. Her body was Well, obviously, but she was left in terrible condition. But you also, I mean, I think we did learn a lot in speaking last week with one of the suspects. We did that on Friday night, and then we did hear from the stepmother and the father. I don't know what that culpability is going to be. So it's a very unusual case. I'll give you that. It's an odd case, but this is not. I don't believe this is going to be, anything coming together quickly. And you also, what also can't be ignored is some of the individuals. You in order to, as someone that has attended, I've covered over 25 trials. You have to be a consistent witness, and you have to be. Some of them live unusual lives, to put it mildly. But if you have someone who every time you talk to them, they give a different version of the story, it just will call into question their credibility. So, and that can then play into what charges they end up agreeing to, because it's not what people think. If you can't get a certain charge, if you can't prove a certain charge, they're not going to bring it. So, and we're already hearing, some of the defenses of the people. So you have 6 charged with the initial, the conspiracy of disposing of a body, and and various things like that. But as you know, or you should know, they're all out. Now it's just going to be a matter of who's going to face the charges regarding who really, injured that poor girl. The whole situation, it does sound terrible, and there's a lot of different stories on it. Yep, a lot of different stories on it, Janet. So I don't know where that's going to go, but a lot of these people, I was speaking to a police officer, not a Central Falls police officer, but just another police officer, and said it's not as if these people become better witnesses. If anything, the more time that passes, they become even sometimes a little more unreliable type of witnesses. Now, I did get an email from Jeremy. Jeremy had a fire at his business. They need who can help them. They have water damage, they have fire damage, they have smoke damage. Jeremy, contact ServPro of Providence, 401 941 5500. 401 941 5500. Fast, thorough, and professional. It's ServPro of Providence. So when disaster strikes, everything changes. You can't just go about your day to day. ServPro of Providence. Fast, thorough, and professional. 401 941 5500. Water damage, fire, mold, smoke. ServPro of Providence. 401 941 5500. Now, I do believe that I am going to speak at some point with Jazz, the Woonsocket story. That story still remains. That remains unsolved with police who provided that weapon. And the timeline on that is important. Now, it's very possible that they have been able to locate that individual that provided the gun to the boyfriend. That story is still so horrible regarding Kimberly and Don, and then their 19-year-old daughter, Jasmine. The funerals were this past weekend. I do anticipate we're going to talk to that. I recognize there are some people when these stories break and they say, let the police do it and blah, blah, blah. But if you do that, then we wouldn't even know. And we learned a lot I learned a lot from, talking with her. We have the interview on our site, petro.com. We're going to, do a video interview, but when it's not interfering with the police investigation, but how did he get that weapon? How did he get that weapon? Who gave him that weapon? He used a weapon, a handgun, that was stolen on Maine. And, are we to believe, did he go up there or someone, according to Jazz, and I don't think she would mind if I um, repeated this because I have it in the interview as actually on DePietro.com, but it's a different type of existence that some of these people live where I know this will seem odd to some people, but their quote friends, a lot of their friends are actually online people they've never even met. I know that sounds, it sounds odd because it is odd, but so this guy, the boyfriend, he was a gamer, I believe. And so, they have all kinds of different online friends. So it sure sounds, it's my understanding, and we'll get this confirmed when we talk to her, but that he had some gamer friend in New Hampshire, and he did go to New Hampshire. But you know what else has not come out with that? What else has not come out is the fact that our information, we have it up on DePietro.com, was that he had been arrested for arson. Do you remember when we spoke with the 19-year-old daughter that he sexually assaulted, and then he went and killed her mother and killed her stepfather? But when she met him, he was on home confinement with an ankle bracelet. And she told me she never asked him why. And then we've learned, I haven't seen this reported anywhere. We've seen it that I haven't seen it, I should say, that he was charged, obviously found guilty of, he tried to burn down the house of the new boyfriend of a former girlfriend. So there's definitely something about him that would just go off. But that's still out there. I mean, that story is still just hanging out there. And then we also have, Bendy's funny. We also have, I understand that people want answers, but we also don't have an update on the Pontiac gym teacher. You know what else I was curious about? I haven't watched it yet, but Channel 12, two items about Channel 12. The number one, I saw the promo over the weekend, The Last Don, about Louis Monacchio. And I think it's calling it a docuseries, actually. And this is nothing against Tim White and the people at Channel 12. It's not about that. Whenever I like Tim White, I've known him a while. But I mistakenly thought you could just go to the Channel 12 website and watch it. But there's this whole thing that now, and I even have their app, but that seemingly isn't enough. You have to download some different app in order to, I'm not doing that. I would have watched it just because I saw some different people that I've dealt with over the years being interviewed for, Brendan Doherty being one. I think Brian Andrews of the state police was another. I mean, I would have, I don't know how long it was. I would have watched some of it. Maybe it is over an hour. I didn't realize that. I think it said 4-part docuseries, but I didn't know you have to go through all these hoops to try to watch it. I thought it'd be the normal. You just either watch it live in the news, or at the very least, you could watch it on their website. I didn't know now you have to download a completely separate app. I mean, as I'm saying it doesn't sound that complicated, but I don't think that would be a call of Tim White and Tim. I would think Johnny must have helped him with it. He's a great photographer, but talk about making it a little complicated, for crying out loud. But the Pontiac story, again, I wanted to mention about Channel 12, though, before I forget. So they have this segment, Behind the Story. And I haven't heard it, in fairness, but I think I saw a blip of the clip they have is they're talking to Ed Fitzpatrick of the Boston Globe. and it's about anti-Semitism at Smithfield High School involving the football team. And I have not listened to the conversation, but by and large, the more I have learned about what happened with Smithfield and the football team, it sounds like there was nothing to those allegations of anti-Semitism. The superintendent certainly didn't do anything to stop that train. She was silent. The administration certainly let those kids down. No one in a position of authority, I don't know who in that equation at Smithfield was saying, no, let the narrative of anti-Semitic talk, let's let that get out there, so then people are going to say it's a hate crime. I have no idea how that was allowed to happen. But my point is, on the behind the story, how is that even a topic? I mean, if anything, the latest we've learned from the attorney and the boys' parents is at no time that they were throwing ice on him or whatever they were throwing on him. And it was just because he was a freshman on the team that it had nothing to do. There was no mention that he was Jewish. There was no mention of a Holocaust game. There was no mention of this is like the gas chamber. Zero. So, and they had, projected onto the Smithfield High School, the side of the building of that last hearing. No place for anti-Semitism. I don't know how that narrative, if that didn't happen, I don't know what they're talking about. Then I don't know what's the behind the story. The behind the story sounds like it would be that it didn't happen. But I come back to that superintendent who's on leave while they're investigating. I still can't believe in this day that superintendent in Smithfield, you allow, I think whatever Jewish organization had the press conference, you allow them to have that. You allow Congressman Gabe Amo to attend. You allow Governor McKee and the Education Commissioner to put out statements. You allow people to start to frame this as anti-Semitism will not be tolerated. And then you quietly mention that the whole reason that those players were allowed back on the team, the football team in Smithfield, to play was because they couldn't find any evidence of anti-Semitism. I do not understand that, other than you had someone possibly in the form of the superintendent who was so incompetent that she allowed that narrative to just take hold. And it did take hold. So I have no idea why they were still silent on that. But my point is, next week is Thanksgiving. We are still waiting for some update in Smithfield for that to take place. Some update on Smithfield and what's going to happen with that superintendent. Folks, this portion of the program, now remember, Watson Materials, give them a call today at 401-885-0600. Call Sean today at Watson Materials, 401-885-0600. Now, they can do it all with Watson Materials, whether it is, in fact, landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, cobblestone, natural stone. Watson Materials. Call them today. Request a quote. Makes a huge difference for your outside. 401-885-0600. 401-885-0600 for Watson Materials. Well, folks, again, good afternoon on this sunny Tuesday. And again, repeating some of the big stories, that Brian Walshe trial, where the jury selection is underway. Brian Walshe trial, the jury selection is underway. He has pled guilty now to interfering with a police investigation and also for moving a body, but the murder charge is still intact. I don't understand how or why that I'm not sure how they feel that they're still going to be able to explain away. I wonder if some people have a false sense that in this day and age, that if you don't have a film, if you don't have a film of actually committing the murder, then that you have to almost like let the person go. Maybe that is the possibility. Maybe in some people, their mind, that could pass for reasonable doubt. I don't know, but it's reasonable doubt. I don't know if that's now going to be explored. If somehow that has taken hold, that's how you can win a case, that you, in any situation, remember, it's reasonable doubt. It's not unreasonable doubt, reasonable doubt. So, I mean, obviously, the best example they give is, at 9 o'clock, you go to sleep, you wake up at 6 o'clock, and there's snow on the ground. You didn't see it you didn't see it snow, excuse me, but you deduce, okay, I didn't check the forecast, and it snowed during the course of the night. So, but it doesn't mean, it doesn't mean it didn't snow because you didn't see it snow. And somehow there are some people that, no, unless you saw it snow, it doesn't work that way. They use the example that if someone's in a room and their back is to, you're facing the corner, and there's another person in the room, and a glass of water is knocked over. You didn't see the person knock over the glass of water, but there's no one else in the room, and you didn't feel an earthquake. And if the window, if the window is not open, a bird didn't fly in and knock it over. But I think there are people that believe that is now the definition of, well, you didn't see it, so that's reasonable doubt. That's actually not reasonable doubt. With the Brian Walshe case, that's exactly what happened. And he's not an idiot. He went to a good school. He was involved with art forgery. Art forgery tells me that's someone that really thinks they're smarter than other people, that they can fool them in that manner. And so that they can fool them. If you can pull off, which he was trying to do, and he got caught doing that. I believe it was 3 Andy Warhol paintings. That is someone that truly thinks that they're the smartest in the room. So much that they could fool someone into believing something is an authentic, valuable painting. So I think that kind of falls in line with his personality of carrying out a crime like that. Now, I did see a story where people are talking about right now, apparently there's big demand regarding daycare and options for daycare. Folks, remember, Kids Club on the Pike, they offer you options on daycare. Perfect for a birthday party venue, before and after school care, preschool. Kids Club on the Pike. Now, right off of 295, if you're looking for options for preschool, before and after school care or preschool, Kids Club on the Pike, 401-443-5336. They're located right off of 295 on Plainfield Pike on the Cranston-Johnson line. It's Kids Club on the Pike, 401-443-5336, 401-443-5336 for Kids Club on the Pike. I did see where, look at what's going to happen. I mean, next week is a short week. Anything on the bridge is just not going to, we're not going to get any type of development like that in any way. So, I mean, that is something that is going to take new leadership, because they had Elvidi there, Peter Elvidi, and it's going to be more of the same. There's right now there is zero accountability with this administration, and as I said last week, and even with Justin, it's not even just the situation regarding this whole business that they want to go after Peter Alviti. I have no idea why. There are people at DOT that make good money, and why in my mind, they shouldn't have allowed a scenario where he's the only one up there answering questions, because I believe it should have been him and his directors. Maybe, and I get the why he and Governor McKee felt, otherwise they're afraid maybe of people contradicting each other. But he is not, he's not the only one over there. You have some other people at Rhode Island DOT that make good money. And granted, he's the director, but there's other people that I think should have been held accountable. And as I mentioned, like that John Igliosi and others. I don't know how the meeting came together, or the hearing, I should say, where he was allowed to just be the only one up there. I think that the General Assembly and the Oversight hearing committee, I think they had an obligation to have direct lead his top people all up there, 5 people sitting at that table. So, and I understand some of them are not as maybe media savvy as Peter is, because Peter's been front and center with the media for basically the past 10 years. You certainly get better at it. He knows what he has said. But I don't like the whole way that went. And then we're all still kind of held hostage here. Folks, this portion of our program, it's a great thing to have done to your home between now and the end of the year is quality fault coding. Call them today, 401-283-9815. 401-283-9815. Have them epoxy your garage at Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. 401-283-9815. They can epoxy your garage and patio, decorative concrete flooring, pickleball, tennis, basketball. They can resurface all of those sport courts. They also do crack filling, pothole repair, and line striping. It's quality. Call Corey, free estimate, 401-283-9815. 401-283-9815 for Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Well, folks, good afternoon on this Tuesday. Now, again, if for whatever reason you miss this live, we have it posted. We are going to start, because it's getting colder, because of the weather. And so we are going to start doing more lives at night. But when it makes sense, I definitely want to do something with Jazz regarding the Woonsocket situation. And we'll do Woonsocket, horrible double murder suicide. But then we'll do some other lives as well, and we'll do it kind of when it makes sense, when there's a story that makes sense. Folks, this portion of the program, don't forget, for your fall cleanup, get those leaves picked up. JD Lawn Care Tree Service, 401-441-0154. 401-441-0154. Residential or commercial. They're very active on social media. It's JD Lawn Care and Tree Service, 401-441-0154. Let me also mention, let's see, Donna had asked me, Donna needs a plumber. Who did I recommend? J&B Plumbing, 401-743-9153. They can repair damaged water pipes. They can repair clogged pipelines, and they can replace water heaters. J&B Plumbing. You need a great, reliable plumber. I know a guy. JMB, 401-743-9153. 401-743-9153. for JMB Plumbing. Well, folks, good afternoon. Now, remember, we do post different video on our YouTube channel, and then sometimes even on Instagram. So if you log on, you see details.depetro.com. If you go to our website, we have links to all of our social media, whether it's TikTok or whether it's YouTube or whether it is and also Instagram. And only because the different platforms almost have like different guidelines and rules. So there are some people that only basically do one or two platforms. We spread it out. And I like the approach. You got to be, wherever people are. So we do have a presence. We have a good presence on Instagram. We have a growing presence on YouTube, and we're going to utilize that. And many times when we're going to do the lives at night, that way we can incorporate X and YouTube along with Facebook. Facebook remains the main one, but it the easiest thing to do is go to the website. Now, again, we are going to have video up. That was quite the live last Friday night when you had the father of the victim in Central Falls, some of the accusations he was making. This whole, I don't know. The whole thing is, it's definitely people that you don't encounter every day. I'll say that. This whole business of a green light and people arguing whether or not they got the green light and someone insisting they were green light. And if you go to New York or Chicago in the mob, and once you give the green light, you can't go back. You can't take back the green light. I don't know. I didn't know what to make of that. That's definitely a different code. Like I said, it's not exactly the last Don, but I have heard there was some incident at Kennedy Plaza involving Erica Bader. She's the young girl. Her body was found in Pawtucket, but she was living at that apartment in Central Falls. But there was some incident. I've heard now from a number of different individuals where there was some incident of her at Kennedy Plaza, and some people are beating her and giving her a hard time. Maybe that's what they mean by they were given the green light. I'll admit it's actually very far. I don't people, so I'm not sure what exactly of that, but a lot of that, even if you have that, it's not exactly someone putting a hit out on someone. So, all right, if you're listening to the 2 o'clock news, if you're listening to the radio, excuse me, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. Everyone else, let's see what develops during the course of the day. Make sure you visit our website, depetro.com. Everybody stay warm on this chilly Tuesday.